Jeff Lerner here, and this video is going to be about why failing isn't a bad thing. If you're seeing this, then it's probably a safe bet, or even if you're not seeing this, it's probably a safe bet that you failed at some point, because everybody has. And I'm going to hopefully explain to you and encourage you and inspire you that it's probably the greatest thing that could happen to you. And in fact, you should do it again and again and again to get ultimately where you want to be. Jeff Bezos, the richest guy in the world, says failing is amazing. It's one of the best things about Amazon. It's one of the keys to everything that they've achieved, is that they have a culture that encourages the type of risk-taking that leads to failure. He said that he has spent billions of dollars failing. Amazon has spent billions and billions of dollars failing, and he has no intent of stopping anytime soon. In fact, what he says they basically have a belief system that says if there's a 1 out of 10 chance of something that could generate 100-to-1 payoff, you should take that bet every single time, knowing full well that you're gonna fail 9 out of 10 times. And think about it, do the math. Let's say you take everything you have and carve it into 10 equal portions, and you bet it on 10 equal bets, and you have a 1 out of 10 chance that one of those bets is gonna hit 100-to-1 and the other 9 you're gonna lose. Well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna turn 10 units into 100 units, right? Statistically, mathematically, it's smart to fail repeatedly if the leverage of the payoff is greater than the leverage or the probability of the loss, right? I mean, it's just simple math. But Jeff Bezos isn't the only one. Elon Musk, actually, when he started Tesla, he was interviewed many years later after Tesla's already in mass production, and he said, honestly, I thought we were going to fail. Like, I literally thought we were going to fail when we started Tesla, but he said, I recognized the upside if we didn't, and more than anything, he said, I just wanted to be a part of the massive solution to and that really the solution to eliminating our dependence on gas in terms of our vehicles wasn't actually a technical solution. He's like, I knew that logistically it could be done. The problem was that there was this massive prejudice in the consumer markets that essentially electric cars were the vehicular equivalent, or the roadworthy equivalent of like golf carts, right? That they're boring and they're lame and they're slow and they're for old people, or they're for, I guess not necessarily old people, but because like young people play golf too, but they're just, not that cool, right? He's like, I wanted to make the electric car cool because I knew that if I did, then there'd be consumer demand for it, and eventually it would create real change. And he basically said, if a cause is worth being involved in, then you should take the risk. And maybe it's easy for him to say that, but actually, if you look at the life cycle of Tesla, there have been times when Elon Musk pretty much bet his entire net worth, but his entire reputation and even capital on Tesla. But he just believed that it was a risk worth taking. Even Mark Zuckerberg, pretty much everybody, you're never gonna find a wildly successful person who doesn't pretty much feel the same way about how failures are great. You fail forward, you turn failures into lessons. You try not to repeat the failures, try to learn the lesson, and they ultimately lead you down the road to success. Mark Zuckerberg said, if you find any successful person, you're gonna find a person who's done most things wrong. It actually only takes a handful or even just one thing right to become wildly successful. And most successful people are, by definition, people that have done a whole lot more things wrong than right. So if you're afraid of failure, you're actually afraid of success. If you're avoiding failure, you're avoiding success. If you're worried about being embarrassed for being a failure, then you're actually worried about the embarrassment of being a success, because successful people success is always built on a mountain of failures. That's literally a law of the world. So I'm gonna dive more into this concept here, and we're gonna get in depth on why failing is not a bad thing. Let's get into it. And actually, before we do, I will ask if you are enjoying this already, or assume you're going to enjoy it, whatever. Just want to support the cause. Subscribe to my channel if you would. Maybe give the video a like if at any point you feel like there's real value here. I appreciate you watching. And let's get into why why failure is not a bad thing. Rather than, hopefully I've convinced you that other people think this too, but I'm just going to share with you my story, a little bit of, some details of my story that I think illustrates that. I don't think it illustrates it in a unique way because, again, I don't think there's anything unique about having success being built on a hill of failures, but it illustrates it in a way that I have like visceral, intimate knowledge of because I lived it. Going back to 1996, I was 17 and I failed. I dropped out of high school. I could no longer continue. I had become incompatible with that system and I dropped out of high school. Decided I was going to become a professional musician because I needed to do something so that I wouldn't have to get a job. I was able to, I went to start trying to get into music school at the university and I failed. Got rejected from my first audition, partly because I didn't have a high school diploma and partly just because I had just started playing piano when I was 16 is kind of when I got serious about it, my junior year. And so it was like I didn't have enough time, right? So failed first audition, failed second audition, failed third audition. By the way, you only audition twice a year. So when I say I failed fourth, fifth, sixth audition, twice a year for 3 consecutive years. And all I did that whole time was practice. And every time I failed, I would dig in, practice a little more, work a little harder, try to get better. Finally, when I was 20, I actually passed an audition. It was actually, I failed 5. My 6th audition, I finally got accepted into a music program. So anyway, then I began a career. And actually, it was one of the professors, the jazz piano professor at University of Houston, who had seen me come back semester after semester after semester. And he recognized, hey, this kid's maybe not the most talented, and he's not certainly not the most accomplished because he's only been playing for a few years. Most of the students there had been playing for like 10 or 15 years since they were little kids. But man, he's got grit. So he actually started subbing me out on when he couldn't make a gig because he was like double booked. He would say, yeah, call Jeff. He's a good kid. He'll show up. He'll work hard. And so I started getting these opportunities to play, not because of my natural talent, but because of the work ethic that I had demonstrated through overcoming multiple repetitive failures. And because of that, I was able to pretty quickly rise through the ranks of the local Houston piano scene. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I was playing some pretty good gigs. I was making a full-time living, playing at lavish private parties, playing really high-end society events and galas and banquets and stuff, and ultimately made a living through most of my 20s playing piano. The failures didn't stop there. In my early 2000s, like maybe 2002, I decided I'm never gonna make that much money as a working, gigging piano player, so I'm gonna start doing other things on the side. And I took all my tip jar money and all my credit cards, and I went and did cash advances and started trying to flip houses. In my early 20s, that went okay for a little while, but then ultimately I ran out of money. I got stuck with a property. I couldn't turn, I couldn't flip, I couldn't finish the work, and I ran out of money, failed at that. Around that time, I went to a bartender at a venue where I was the piano player, he was the bartender, and I said, dude, tell me about that thing I've heard you're working on the side, because he's kind of like me. I was a piano player, he was a bartender, so he worked at nights, I worked at nights, and I said, tell me about this thing I've heard you talking about. And he said, oh yeah, I've got this project I'm working on where we're gonna go sell coupon cards in college towns. He's like, because I went to Oklahoma State University, or no, he went to, OU. Ooh, he'd probably be mad that I said Oklahoma State, and it was just Oklahoma. But anyway, he's like, while I was there were these coupon cards, and these people made a killing just selling these cards all over campus. He's like, so I want to create one, and we can go around to these different college towns. And I was like, I'm in. My real estate thing just went bust, and my credit cards are maxed, so yeah, let's do it. So we started working for a couple years, and I put a business plan together. We even went out and raised some money from some local guys and got all these cards printed and started driving all around the country, selling these things in college towns, got our butts kicked year after year after year. Talk about failure. Go to a college town with a coupon card and say, I need to sell 30 local businesses to spend money on this little card when there's already a couple competing products in the market. There's books, there's guides, there's one sheets, and those are all run by local people, and we're like these out of town people coming into towns like Manhattan, Kansas, and College Station, Texas, like kind of smaller market mentality towns where people like to do business locally, and we're driving in from out of town going, buying our cards, and we go locally to the Domino's and the Little Caesars and the Olive Garden and the Applebee's and trying to knock on doors and show up in the middle of the day, and the managers don't want to talk to us and the owners are never there, and just get your butt kicked again and again, day after day. In hindsight, it was a horrible idea, but failure after failure after failure. But eventually we were able to pull 20 to 25 local clients out of each of these markets. And we built this coupon card business that was distributing 40,000 cards per semester per campus. I think we got up to 7 campuses. So we're printing like almost 600,000 cards a year, and we actually made a go of it. But eventually, after, I guess it was 3 years, we're like, oh, this is exhausting. We can't sustain this. We're not actually really hardly making any money. What can we do? What can we do? So then we pivoted into, we're like, well, these kids, they get the cards and they just throw them away. So, but what is it they never throw away? They never throw away their phones, and they're starting to do this texting thing. It was like 2004 is when we first realized, like, man, these college kids are starting to do this texting thing a lot. What if we could send coupons to their phones, right? And this was 2004, right? Nobody was doing this yet. I wrote another business plan. We raised more money. So talk about failure. I mean, I pitched investor after investor after investor with this business plan on this idea. I'm a piano player. He's a bartender. We've got this coupon business. It's basically failing. And we're like,
oh, we want to build technology to deliver coupons to cell phones. And
anyway, we did it. We called the company Wham Mobile. Wham Mobile. So we built that on the backs of failure. And we ended up raising almost $1 million. We hired developers. I was the designer. I designed all the cards, so I had to teach myself Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign. I taught myself enough HTML and PHP and CSS to be dangerous, to do I built our website. My buddy, the bartender, he helped design the website. Like, we just full on learning, getting our butt kicked mode. We were also doing all the sales. We were doing all the calls. We were taking all the appointments. We were hitting up media agencies with this text message product. We were hitting up real estate companies with this text message product.
Well, and imagine if they could get they could get a code on their phone and open up the property, the MLS info, instead of having to take a flyer.
Well, now that's what every real estate company does. But we had the idea back in 2004, and we would go real estate office after real estate office trying to explain to these 65 and 70-year-old realtors that, these were the old flip phones. They didn't text. You had to hit the number 4 times to get to the, letter U or Z or whatever the letter was. And just, oh my gosh, I think back on it, and it was just failure and misery and monotony, but we just had this fire. It was honestly, whatever it was better than having a job. That's basically our whole lives. It was like, it's better than having a job. We're getting to work for ourselves. Plus, we raised money. We have an obligation to see this through. But eventually that failed. So we were able to take what was left of that money and convert it into a franchise restaurant. We opened, because while we were going from college town to college town, we were always eating at these local franchise restaurants. So we got to see what's really, really popular. And there was this one restaurant concept called the Pita Pit that was just booming in these little towns because the college kids would go eat these pita wraps. So we're like, oh, let's open a couple of these restaurants. We're able to get the franchise license. Again, we had to put a business plan together. By now, we were pretty good salespeople. We were pretty savvy on how to organize a business plan, and we went and sold ourselves based on our extensive business experience. Never mind that it was all failure after failure, but we sold ourselves to the franchise company. And we're given the license to open 2 stores. We're able to get small business administration bank loans, opened 2 restaurants in 2007. Our genius idea was, well, all the people that come work in downtown Houston, they either went to Texas A&M, or they went to University of Texas, or they went to University of North Texas, or they, these Texas university schools were all places where the Pita Pit was really popular. So we thought, oh, well, now they go to the big city, they get a job, and they'll be so excited that all of a sudden now there's Pita Pit where they can go to lunch during the workday, right? Didn't do our math very well, didn't necessarily think it through, because pitas are kind of messy, and now they're not college kids in tank tops and shorts. Now they're dressed up for work in collared shirts and ties, and they don't want to eat something that's kind of messy. Plus, it was 2007, the Great Recession hit, the economy collapsed, mortgage bubble burst, oil prices crashed, the world fell off a cliff. And between that and the fact that it was a pretty bad idea in the first place, now I'm on the hook for $495,000 in total debt. It was like $330,000 bank loan. We lost all the money we put as a down payment. We owed 2 leases times, there were over 4 years left on 2 different commercial leases, legal fees, taxes, a whole world of disaster, right? I'm almost $500,000 in debt, massive, colossal failure. So I pivot into internet marketing. And here's the thing, it's like, well, But the skills, people know my story. They're like, Jeff, how are you so successful so quickly on the internet? Well, most people get started with internet marketing and they know nothing about marketing. They know nothing about the web. They know nothing about, any of the, and this was 2008. So you couldn't just go sign up for ClickFunnels or DropFunnels and just have all these tools. You had to learn how to do this stuff. I had to learn how to create designs in Photoshop and export them as layered Photoshop files and save the different layers as images and then stack them in HTML with the div tags and all this techie stuff, right? But I had a running start on learning those things because of all the skills. The point of failure is to get skills. So I was able to be a quick study in affiliate marketing and paid off almost $500,000 in debt in 18 months. Had a great run for a few years, started doing well. It was my first taste of real success, but again, failure. 2010, some changes happened in that business. By 2012, I was out of business, literally almost went back to zero because at the time I had learned nothing about how to handle success, how to handle a dramatically and rapidly increasing income and how to budget and how to plan and how to allocate your money flow and create, a legacy play with real long-term wealth. I didn't know any of that, right? So fast as it came is how fast it went. Like they say in business, fast up, fast down. That was me. So then in 2013, I started an agency and grew that slow. This time I grew it a lot more slowly, more stably, because I had learned that lesson. But there was still so much I didn't know. And by 2018, I sold that agency and that was like my first real trajectory of success. And we did about between $25 and $30 million in sales during those 5 or 6 years. But I still a lot I hadn't learned, right? So I sold my agency, but I didn't sell the whole thing. I just sold the book of business. I sold the income stream. I sold the recurring subscription base. And I sold it to a company that was a startup. They were a funded startup. Oh, they're a funded startup. They're backed by venture capital. They got all these hotshot executives. They'll pay, right? I structured it on a 18-month payout and then they didn't pay me. They paid me some, they didn't pay me all. So this big life-changing deal I was supposed to have, I got some of the money, but I didn't get all of the money. I would have been better off, honestly, not selling. But still, another failure. So what did I do in that vacuum of failure? The post-failure vacuum is where all the opportunity lies, because now you're a little bit smarter than you were the last time. So what did I do then? I planted the seeds. I drew a line. I said, I'm going to take everything I've learned, all the successes that I've had, all the failures that I've had, and I'm going to teach. And more importantly for me personally, I'm going to build it the right way. I'm not going to be in a hurry and I'm not going to cut corners. I'm going to build it to last. And that's what I do now. And frankly, it's just another level up. It's another level of success. It's the best of all the wins. It's the biggest win so far. It won't be the biggest win I ever have. I'm trying to get to the point where there's not another failure around the corner, but also I'm not naive. I'm not a psychic and I can't control what I can't control. And there probably will be. But at this point, the most important skill I've learned isn't to avoid failure. It's to embrace failure. It's to quickly pivot out of failure. It's not to wallow in it. It's to only learn lessons once. Don't have to relearn them again and again and again. That's when you get yourself in trouble. And obviously, as you learn those lessons, there's only so much I could say in this video to make you, oh, those are the lessons. No, some of it you kind of got to go through yourself. But first and foremost, you'll go through the lessons, you'll learn the lessons, you'll get the experience. Like they say, good decisions come from experience and experience comes from bad decisions, right? You'll get that experience if you're not trying too hard to avoid failure. That's really the point of this video is don't avoid failure. Strive for success, accept the failures along the way, and just always be learning. Anyway, I hope that's valuable for you and useful. Frankly, I wish somebody had told me that a long time ago. And I would have, frankly, not been so hard on myself, and I probably would have shifted through the failures even faster if I understood, hey, this is just natural. This is just what it is. This is like when your muscles, when your lactic acid fires on that last rep of the set. That's actually when you're growing. That's the one you have to push through, right? Like I said, if you found value in this or this has been useful, first of all, tell me about it. I want to hear in the comments below. Share your experience, share your failures, share your successes. I'll celebrate with you. I'll support you if there's been failures. Hopefully don't be shy, don't be scared about sharing them. Hopefully you'll actually be celebrating those too. Let me know in the comments. Obviously, if you have any questions, anything I can help you with, I love the feedback from this process. And if you'd like to spend more time in my world, again, subscribe to this channel, please. I put a ton of videos and content out, and just knowing you're out there, honestly. It doesn't change anything if you subscribe, but it makes you get the rest of the videos, and it lets me know you're out there, and I appreciate it. Also, feel free to join my free Facebook group. It's called Entre Nation, E-N-T-R-E. My education company is called Entre. We have Entre Institute, which is our teaching institute. We have Entre Nation, which is our community. Check us out on Facebook. Again, totally free to join that group. And if you'd actually like to check out one of our courses, we have a basic introductory course to how I do business online. I've been able to generate around $50 million in sales primarily on the internet through several online businesses that are very stable, very mainstream, very tried and true. They're not these flashy nonsense gimmicks that you see advertised all over the web by these, pop-up flavor of the month gurus. This is the real stuff that the real guys, the guys that make hundreds of millions of dollars, this is what they do. And I teach them in this basic course. Check out entrenation.com if you'd like to learn more about that. And I just appreciate your time and support watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.